girl by the name of Mike Christian. I've asked Scott, if you would please, to come and give that declaration to us, and then we're going to dismiss you to the meal.
John Sidney McCain III, born August 29, 1936, is the senior United States Senator from Arizona. He was the Republican presidential nominee in the 2008 United States election. McCain was a naval aviator during the Vietnam conflict. In October 1967, while on a bombing mission over Hanoi, he was shot down, seriously injured, and captured by the North Vietnamese. He was a prisoner of war until 1973. During his imprisonment, McCain experienced episodes of torture that left him with lifelong physical limitations. It was also during this time that John McCain met Mike Christian, a POW from Alabama. Senator McCain often shares the story of this loyal American in the following campaign speech. As you may know, I spent 5.5 years as a prisoner of war during the Vietnam War. In the early years of our imprisonment, the NBA kept us in solitary confinement or 2 to 3 to a cell. One of the techniques they used from time to time was to take ropes, tie it around your arms, around your biceps, pull your arms back, and then loop the rope around your head and pull your head down between your legs. It's very uncomfortable, as you can imagine. One time, I was in an interrogation room, and I was in that particular position where they had left me for the night. The door of my cell opened. It was the middle of the night, and a guard walked in, whom we called a gun guard. He came over to me, put his finger to his lips, and loosened the ropes that were binding me. About 5 hours later, he came back in the cell. He tightened up the ropes and left, never saying a word. About 2 months later was Christmas Day. Because it was Christmas Day, they allowed me to stand outside my cell for about 10 minutes. I went outside. I was standing there in this dirt courtyard, and who comes walking over but the same guard? He stood next to me for about a minute, and with his sandal drew a cross in the dirt. He stood there a few minutes, didn't say a word. A few minutes later, he rubbed it out with his sandal and walked away. My friends, I will never forget that man. I will never forget that moment. And I'll never forget the fact that no matter where you are or how difficult things are, there's always going to be someone of your faith and your belief and your devotion to your fellow man who will pick you up and help you out. In 1971, the NBA moved us from these conditions of isolation into large rooms with as many as 30 to 40 men to a room. This was, as you can imagine, a wonderful change and was a direct result of the efforts of millions of Americans on behalf of a few hundred POWs. During this time, I was privileged to observe 1,000 acts of courage, compassion, and love. Those that I know best and love most are those that I was imprisoned with. 10,000 miles from home, one of the men who moved into my room was a young man named Mike Christian. Mike came from a small town near Selma, Alabama. He didn't wear a pair of shoes until he was 13 years old. At 17, he had listened to the U.S. Navy. He later earned commission by going to officer training school. Then he became a naval flight officer and was shot down and captured in 1967. Mike had a keen and deep appreciation of the opportunities this country and our military provide for those who want to work and want to succeed. As part of the change in treatment, the NBA allowed some prisoners to receive packages from home. And some of these packages were handkerchiefs, scarves, and other items of clothing. Mike got himself a bamboo needle. Now, the uniform that we wore in prison was a standard slate blue shirt, trousers that looked like pajama trousers, and sandals cut out of automobile tires. I recommended them very highly. One pair lasted me 6 years. Over a period of a couple of months, he created an American flag and sewed it on the inside of his shirt. Every afternoon, before we had a bowl of soup, we would hang Mike's shirt on the wall of the cell and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I know the Pledge of Allegiance may not seem the most important part of our day now, but I can assure you that in that stark cell, it was indeed the most important and meaningful event. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. One day, the Vietnamese searched our cell, as they did periodically, and discovered Mike's shirt with a flag sewn inside and removed it. That evening, they returned, and for the benefit of all of us, beat Mike Christian severely for the next couple of hours. Then, they opened the door of the cell and threw him in. We tried to clean him up as well as we could. The room in which we lived had a concrete slab in the middle on which we slept. 4 naked light bulbs hung in each corner of the room. As I said, we tried to clean Mike's up as well as we could. After the excitement died down, I looked in the corner of the room, and sitting there beneath that dim light bulb with a piece of red cloth, another shirt, and his bamboo needle was my friend, Mike Christian. He was sitting there with his eyes almost shut from the beating he had received, making another American flag. He wasn't making the flag because it made Mike Christian feel better. He was making that flag because he knew how important it was to us to be able to pledge allegiance to our flag and to our country. So, the next time you say the Pledge of Allegiance, you must never forget the sacrifice and courage that thousands of Americans have made to build our nation and promote freedom around the world. You must remember our duty, our honor, and our country.